looks like Twitter is, you just went up, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know.
Welcome to Back to the Father, a show about the journey of life focused on our final end, which is God Himself, our loving Father. And now, here's your host, Dave Palmer.
And welcome, everybody, to Back to the Father here on the Guadalupe Radio Network social media sites. We are back. We said a few weeks ago that we thought that the show was coming to an end. That seems to have been a little bit premature. And so we are here, and looks like the show may be continuing for the foreseeable future. And so we're glad that you are watching. And if you're new to the show, just welcome. This is a show that focuses on the teachings of St. Thomas Aquinas in the Summa Theologica, and we pick a different topic each week, and we highlight a few of the articles in the Summa about what St. Thomas Aquinas talks about. And so I want to introduce myself, Dave Palmer. I have a great interest in the Summa and St. Thomas Aquinas. I've been teaching it for about 10 years to high school kids. I now have an adult course that I'm teaching on Tuesday evenings with about 25 adults who have an interest in studying the Summa. Of course, St. Thomas Aquinas is the doctor of the doctors of the Catholic Church. He is the common doctor and also the patron saint of all Catholic education. And Pope after Pope after Pope for the last 700 years has recommended that all the faithful and college students and students of all ages study Thomistic philosophy and Thomistic theology. And so that's what we do. It's kind of a unique show, and we're glad you're with us. And if you're watching on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook, let us know that you're there, who you are, where you are, and we're glad that you are part of the community. I have two wonderful co-hosts in studio with me, and one of them is Sissel Anderson. She is doing triple duty right now. She's running the board, social media, and being an extremely interesting personality on I was going to say radio.
I spent a lot of time on that personality aspect of it, for sure.
And honing that for a while, huh?
I have been, absolutely. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. We are back. We have Forrest already commenting, saying, "You're back." I'm so excited.
Yeah, I know.
So, it's because of all those petitions that everyone signed.
I know.
Saying, Don't take back to the
riots
away.
outside the building and all that. So
it's very overwhelming.
Yeah, so there will be some changes. I've been kind of thinking about some of the things. You'll probably see a new opener and more promotion across the network. And quite honestly, I'm a bit flattered that anybody actually cares that we're back. I mean, it's hard to develop, a really good, sizable audience on social media. It takes time, it takes persistence, and of course, you got to put out a good product as
Absolutely.
well. And so I'm glad that Sissel was on the show. Also, William Kirkendall is over here. He is our intern, very bright guy. He's a high school student and really knows his stuff and contributes wonderfully to the show. So we're glad to have you, William. Thanks for being here.
Of course, thank you.
And William tells me he is on for the foreseeable future. He's a junior right now, so he's going into the summer and then his senior year. So he's going to be a regular guest on the program as well. We also, like I said, love your comments. And today we have an interesting topic, and this was actually an idea by our Vice President, Richard Reyna. So I want to thank him because we're talking about whether we do a show today or just kind of revamp it and take a couple of weeks off. And he said, well, why don't you do a show that features a little teaser for what's happening tomorrow morning? And in case you don't know, this is big news for the Guadalupe Radio Network. For the first time ever, the Guadalupe Radio Network is producing a radio program that will be airing across the entire EWTN radio network. Okay, so we've been guests on EWTN, and we've contributed to EWTN. We carry, of course, a lot of EWTN programs. But when you talk about a show that runs across the entire network, Guadalupe Radio has never done that before. Unlike some of these other networks like Ave Maria and even Catholic Answers that focus a lot on the production of programs, Ave Maria in particular, they've got a lot of programs. Okay, we've always focused more, I guess, how would you say it? It's not so much on the programs, but just on, taking the great shows that are already produced and then send them to our audience. But we're getting a little bit more into...
We're getting in the game.
Yeah, getting in the game of producing shows and having a digital element to it. So our leadership is very interested in having unique shows. And so that's what Back to the Father is all about. This is about St. Thomas Aquinas and his teaching in the Summa Theologica. Okay, so in light of the Spirit World with Debbie Georgiani and Adam Bly debuting as a GRN show tomorrow morning. Now, the content of the show probably won't be that much different, okay? The show is what it is. But the fact that it's being produced by the Guadalupe Radio Network, that's new, okay?
Yep.
And I'm sure there will be some changes. I think the intro is now voiced by our guy, Stan Roback, so you'll notice that right off the bat. And I'm sure they're going to acknowledge that it's a GRN-produced show. So do tune in tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock Central, across Guadalupe Radio Network. I know Debbie very well. I've interviewed Adam. Have y'all had a chance to listen to the show?
I've only heard a little bit of it, but what I've heard, I have very greatly enjoyed, and I think it's gonna. I don't know. There's a fascination with the subject right now, especially. So I think it's really timely.
Why do you think that is?
It's a great question. You mean right now, or just in general? Why is there a fascination?
Well, I think there always has been.
Yes.
But William and I were talking before the show started, and he was talking about the interview that he saw with Michael Knowles and The Exorcist of, I think, Nashville, Tennessee. You watched the whole thing.
I saw or listened to the whole thing on podcast.
Okay.
Yes,
yeah. So what were your takeaways?
One of the most interesting things I heard, the new things, was I didn't actually have any idea that exorcists regularly had encounters with the devil himself, and this exorcist said he saw the devil twice. So that was one thing. The other thing that was really interesting that I actually had no idea about, I mean, I have heard Jesse Romero talk about demons and all of that, but one thing I never heard before from anyone, including Jesse Romero, is that demons, when they possess people, those people will start talking in languages like Greek and Hebrew, these ancient languages that, you're not going to hear from a normal person who's never studied these languages before. And the exorcist was like, well, if you look at these people's backgrounds, did they ever learn Greek or Hebrew?
Right.
No. So it's interesting because I had no idea that demons actually spoke in those languages when they possess people. So if you... he was kind of saying, if you hear someone talking in Hebrew and Greek and they don't know, they never study the language, there's a sign right there of perhaps demonic possession. So those were my two takeaways that I didn't know about before.
Yeah, I want to watch that whole thing. And I was watching a YouTube video the other day, and I think it might have been the Michael Knowles one, and I got out of it. And all of a sudden, another one popped up with Matt Fradd interviewing an exorcist. Father Lambert, I think is his name. And then who's the real, Father Rippinger is the real famous one. Every diocese, I think, has an exorcist. But it's fascinating. And I just have some thoughts on why it is that we're so fascinated with the spirit world. And I think Debbie and Adam Bly are really onto something. It's interesting, when I interviewed Adam Bly, probably the thing that I remember most is that he told me that his spiritual director said that since he trains exorcists and he's present at a lot of exorcisms, his spiritual director said it'd probably be better if you don't get married or have pets, because I guess it opens up for retaliation. The demons could take revenge on you, and so I don't think Adam's married, and I don't think he has any pets. Which is very interesting. You ever wonder? I was thinking about this. The exorcists will speak, do these exorcisms with the demons, and they'll talk to the demons, and like you said, William, they're speaking in different languages and everything. Why do the exorcists never talk to the good angels? Because the good angels can possess a person. We call it assuming a body, right? So why don't they ever talk to the good ones? I mean, somebody. I guess it's not as dramatic. It's not as.
Well, I was gonna say, I don't know what they'd have to say. It's not like they're doing anything wrong. It's not like they're saying you need to get out of. Right? It's a different kind of conversation.
But if you become possessed by a benign angel, I would love to speak to the angel, and because they're so intelligent. But that never seems to happen. But we do know that it isn't only the evil angels that possess bodies, right? So I don't know. I don't really have an answer to it. But I thought it was kind of interesting. All right, so I do have. I don't like to put up a lot of really creepy graphics of demons, because these images can get into your mind, and I just don't really want to go there. I do have one there. But, okay, so just kind of introductory stuff, things that I've learned from St. Thomas Aquinas. Why are there angels And what are they? I guess maybe I should reverse that. What are angels, and why do they exist? Okay. Do you guys have I mean, St. Thomas Aquinas certainly addresses this. I'll do the first part. What is an angel? It's an incorporeal creature. Okay, meaning no body, pure spirit and pure will. Okay, so why do they exist? I think we've talked about this in the past on the show. Do you remember like what Aquinas says of why angels exist? Why do we need them in the first place? What's the point?
Well, because God created them, obviously.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can say that about a cricket or a grasshopper too, right? So but that's just like they do exist, and obviously there's a reason. But what's the point? What's the point of an angel? Why do they exist? And what good do they do?
Yeah, I've never thought of that question before. Actually, I didn't.
Fortunately
think
for
about
our
it.
listeners right now, Dave, I also have forgotten. So please do tell.
All right. Okay. So, Aquinas says that the angels are closest in likeness to God. Okay,
Makes
and
sense.
so he says that the God created something most like Himself. Maybe in a sense, and this is probably maybe not a great example, but when we create life, we create little babies that very much look like us. I mean, they're very much of the same essence. They're little human beings, right? Well, God can't create another God. Because that would take away from His quality of being one and only having one God. So He creates something that's so close to Him, being pure spirit, intellect and will, no body, just like God Himself. And I think it also, by coming to know a creature that is like God, we can also come to know something about God, right? So I think that's probably the reason.
That makes sense.
So, okay, so why does God and why do the angels need to be invisible? Okay, why is God pure spirit? Why can't He have a body? Which, by the way, interestingly, the Mormons believe that God has a body. Do you know that? Yeah, the Mormons and
I also believe that we get planets when we die. So
yeah. So that's why God would have a body. Because although I don't know that women, no offense, but I don't know can women become gods of a planet, or are they just the spouses?
I think only a spouse.
Yeah. So William and I, if we were Mormons and we believed to what Mormons believe, would think that we could die if we're really righteous. We can go off and have our own planet, but of course,
I can barely keep my own house organized. I don't need a planet. Let's be real. Like I don't need a planet for that circumstance.
I don't think I'm worthy of having my own planet. So, all right. So why is God a pure spirit? Why does He not have a body? How would we refute a Mormon who says that God the Father has a body? What is it? Why does it matter? I mean, why even have the debate?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Boy, this is a show where I really get to stump you guys, don't I?
Yeah, for real.
Okay. Well, if you think, you remember if we go back and we talk about the attributes of God. Okay, God is pure simple, and then God, the simplicity of God is based on the fact that He doesn't have a body. Okay, but then we also learn that God is infinite. Okay, so God is everywhere. If God had a body and He was infinite, there would be no room for anybody else because the body. Think about it. I mean,
that would not end well for us.
Isn't that like a mind bender though? You think about an infinite physical body. I mean, that's wild to even think about because it would leave no room for anybody else.
Right.
Because a body has to take up space, right?
Right.
So how would there be any room for you if God had a body and He was infinite? So if God has a body, you all of a sudden have to take away His infinity. He's no longer infinite. He's no longer simple. And so you start chipping away at many of His attributes, right?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so but then interestingly, of course, we are body and we are soul, and so we are in the middle. So we've talked about many times in the show before. We're right there, smack dab in the middle between the brute animals, the angels, and God, and we have everything. We have the body, we have the soul, we have spirit, we have the passions of the animals, we have the intellect and the will of God and the angels. And so we're right in the middle, okay? And so I think, the fascination with the angels, I got a few pictures here of like sunrises, sunsets, and just kind of beautiful things, because even the physical world has a spiritual element to it, because if you remember, you see the picture of the giraffe there? If you remember the whole Plato's idea forms, the eternal forms, and the whole thing, where he thinks that there's a whole other realm.
Like the shadow thing?
Yeah,
I remember
the
that.
shadows, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so we have all these things down here on Earth, like cars and dogs and trees and birds and giraffes and things like that. Well, Plato felt like there was this realm of ideas. He called them universal forms. Okay, so all the things down here, the physical dog just participates in the eternal form, which is kind of like invisible, and it's the real thing, but these are just kind of participating in down below. So in that regard, it's almost speaks of the fascination we have of some other realm, some other world, something's going on outside of our physical experience.
Yeah, didn't Aristotle share that same view where we're all down here on Earth political beings and political creatures, and then there is a higher, like, he didn't believe in the God we believe in because he was pagan, but he believed that there was a higher being, and we were like the lower political animals at like the bottom. And
was that Plato or Aristotle?
I think that was Aristotle.
Aristotle, okay.
I mean, I think they had similar beliefs, but but I'm thinking of Aristotle.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm not too sure about that. I'll have to pass on that one. But you're probably right. It sounds like that's something that you did learn. But all right. So I think there's a fascination for what we can't see. There's a fascination with the angels. That's why I think Debbie and Adam Bly are onto something. And so it's like we've talked about before, the form of a shark or a frog or a pig. If I say those words, something comes into your mind. But that's not the pigness, the turkeyness, the carness, right? So there's a spiritual element that's because to the way we think, right? We think in universals. We think of, a pig in general, a dog in general, and then we see an actual representation of the dog or the pig, and we're like, hey, that's a dog or a pig. Okay, but we have a universal in our minds. So I don't think, caterpillars are fascinated with angels. Dogs and cats and llamas and giraffes don't think about angels because they don't have spirit. Yeah. And so since we are spiritual beings, we have some likeness to the angels. We have some likeness to the demons. We certainly have a likeness to God.
So we have an interest in it.
Yeah, we have an interest in it because it's part of who we are. It's like we have a great interest in the body because it's who we are.
Exactly.
And that also complicates us because unlike the angels and unlike the brute creatures and unlike God, we have it all. We have the body, we have the spirit, we have the soul. We're just all these things kind of thrown together like a mishmash. And then along comes Jesus, who had everything. I mean, even more than us. He had the spirit, the soul, the body, the passions, and the divinity. Okay, so I mean, it's just Jesus Christ is the most fascinating being ever because he brings everything together into a single person. Okay, so I don't know. It's just it's really interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So, any thoughts on that? Is anybody? Have we driven Forrest away yet, or is he still?
I think he's still here.
There with us. And again, if you're out there and you're watching, welcome. This is Back to the Father. We're talking about St. Thomas Aquinas and his teaching on demons in particular. Okay, in the Summa Theologica, there's hardly a stone that went turned over by St. Thomas Aquinas. He covers pretty much everything. That's why it's called the Summa, because it's a summary of all things, the order of it. In fact, I'm tempted once we get started with the new, show to just kind of go in order, rather than, here and there.
From
the beginning. Just, and I'm not talking about the whole thing, but picking particular articles and just kind of taking the order that St. Thomas Aquinas does it, because the order is really important, as I've mentioned before.
I think we should. Yeah, I think everyone would
idea.
appreciate that from start to finish. But y'all can let us know in the comments if that's something you like to see.
Forrest said, "Still here, but my head's beginning to hurt, though."
Same.
I guess I've been doing this so long, and I'm not like some towering intellect. That's why I love teaching this stuff. Is that I don't consider myself like this kind of ivory tower. Yeah, even the guys at the university level, who I highly respect, the men and women who teach this at the university level, they kind of speak at a whole different level. But to bring Aquinas to the average person is very challenging, because it is deep, and I have of the opinion that learning Thomistic philosophy is not for everybody.
Right.
Some people have an aptitude for it. Some people pick it up very quickly. I think I picked it up pretty quickly. I haven't picked up all of it. I don't understand everything, but the basic gist of what Aquinas is getting at in the Summa, I think I understand. I think I know why he wrote it. I think I know the major themes and what he's trying to get at. But if I could, because I think it relates, and Forrest, tell me this. I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible, so he doesn't have to go run for an aspirin, right? I mean, this is the basic gist of it. If I can summarize it in 2 minutes or less, is that you have a natural world, which is made up of what is natural, and that would mean the world that we experience, which is physical, right? The trees and the bushes and the earthworms and the dogs and the giraffes and the sun and the sky, right?
Yep.
And then you have God, who is purely immaterial, no body, right? So he's a mystery. Mm-hmm. And then you have heaven, our final destination, which is also supernatural, right? It's something beyond us. Mm-hmm. And then you have, like I mentioned a moment ago, the human being, which is both. Okay, so we're right in the middle, and we also have that, the fetter of original sin, which makes us, overly attracted to the physical things, okay, to the food, to the sex, to the drink, to the sleep, to all these things. And so it's like a constant battle, because we are in the physical world, but we're spiritual creatures trying to get to a spiritual end, but we're kind of dragged down by concupiscence, because even though we're trying to get there, we are overly attracted to all the stuff down here. And so we have this battle going on within us that St. Paul talks about in his letters. Why do I do the things that I don't want to do? And that's why we have the virtues, the theological virtues, the cardinal virtues, the gifts of the Holy Spirit. So it's all trying to get us there, but it's tough, okay? And that's why life is so difficult, but that's the journey of life. And that's what Thomas was writing about, is how do we as human beings get to our final end using all of the advantages, the grace of God, the virtues, gifts of the Holy Spirit, the sacraments, all this stuff to get us to our final end and not mess up and end up in hell. Okay? Right. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Did that make sense, Forrest? So
now Forrest is completely gone.
So now he's like, okay, I'm out of here. All right. So, anyways, that's what we're getting at here. So let's go to a few of the questions that St. Thomas Aquinas asks about the demons. And this comes in the first part of the Summa, which is called Prima Pars. And there's actually 2 sections on angels in Prima Pars. Okay, he treats on God and God's attributes and the Holy Trinity, a little bit on creation, and then he has a section on the angels. Okay, what are the angels? How do they move? Are they in a place? That kind of thing. Were you here for that when we talked about the angels in particular, or was that before your time?
It might have been before my time. I'm not sure.
Okay. That was AW.
I feel like we've done a couple of...
BW, before William.
I feel like we've done a few times. We've done talks about angels, but yeah.
Yeah, I think we have talked about it before, but I don't think we've talked about exactly what you're mentioning.
So if I were to say, like, is an angel in a particular place at any given time, as opposed to being, in a whole bunch of places, what would you say?
No.
I would
with question mark. At the
big
end.
question mark.
I would say probably one place at one time. I mean, they're like you said, they're the closest thing to God if you're going to put them on a level, but it's like they aren't God exactly. So I would say no. I would guess no.
Yeah. I know. No, Thomas said that they are in one particular place at one time, but by the application of their power. Okay, so like if which is going to be similar to our experience in heaven, by the way, is that our body will be totally obedient to our rational mind, and so an angel is pure intellect and will, and so if they want to be here, let's say on my keyboard, they're there, and then if at the next moment they say, I'd like to be in whatever at McDonald's down the street, well, through the mere act of their intellect and will, they go there. Okay, so but they're no longer here.
Right. So it's like you're saying they go there, like they don't have to walk over there; they just kind of go.
And that's the thing. Yeah, they go there, but they're not physical, and so
Right.
they now are applying the power of their intellect and their will to another place.
So it's a little weird for us because
I know it's hard for us to understand. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But
I'm sitting here going, man, if only I could just be like, I want to be at
McDonald's.
my bed or the coffee shop and just.
But that's what heaven will be like.
I know.
Yeah, yeah. But
Very,
our
very- I don't know if
body.
there's gonna be coffee shops in heaven, but I'm going to be very excited.
But the cool thing also about heaven is that, okay, we have a body after the general resurrection, right? So we have a body and we have a mind, but our body is totally obedient to our mind. And so if we want to be somewhere else, we just will it and boom, we're there. But the body goes there too. Okay, so it's kind of like, you know?
It's interesting.
But then what if Sissel is one place and she wants to go somewhere and we intersect? Okay, are our bodies going to
Is
collide?
that like a train wreck happening?
See, but because there's another quality of the body in heaven, which is called subtlety, and that's where we will be able to go through physical barriers. All right, and the reason Thomas and the fathers of the church said that the resurrected body can do that is because remember when Jesus came back after he died and after he rose, and the apostles were in the upper room for fear of the Jews. And then all of a sudden, Jesus just shows up, right? The door was locked. Well, Jesus walked through the door. Okay, he was able to go through because he had subtlety.
It kind of reminds me. I'm getting probably totally wrong, but I just keep thinking about Star Trek with the beam.
Yeah,
they get
yeah.
beamed up. They get to go through like ceilings and walls and atmosphere, and then they come together again.
Is that okay? So I never watched Star
So,
Trek.
yeah.
Are they able to
Beam me
do
up,
that?
Scotty. Yeah.
Okay, so
do.
they can go through
Basically,
everything.
they're like on their spaceship, and they can stand on this little platform, and they kind of go into like they dematerialize almost,
Yeah.
and then they appear on the planet's surface through any building or whatever, and they rematerialize.
And I assure you that indirectly or directly
I'm
was
sure.
influenced by Aquinas. I mean, whoever the writer of the Star Trek is, he may not have read it himself, but it would have come from the Christian tradition of this exact quality of. It's called agility and subtlety, and so. And also remember when Mary gave birth to Jesus virginally, and the Catholic Church says that he did not come through the passage. Right. So one moment Jesus was inside the womb, the next moment he's outside. So Mary remained a pure virgin, in her complete integrity. Well, Jesus would have had to have come through her from inside to outside.
yeah.
So that's subtlety. He's
Okay.
able to do that, even as a little tiny baby.
Yeah.
So basically, if you
talked about
take
that
away
before, yeah.
nothing else from this episode, just think angels are like Star Trek.
That's right. That's what you get out of this. Okay.
That's your little like tweetable version of this.
Okay,
show.
so all right, I've gone off on a few tangents here. I don't know if any of that makes sense to Forrest or not, but thanks for letting us know, Forrest, that you were struggling there with some of this stuff. All right, so here is a couple of the questions that Aquinas asks about the demon. First of all, he says whether men are assailed by the demons. And I find this really interesting what he says here. Are men assailed? And that, I guess that would be kind of like attacked or, assaulted.
Forrest was kind of asking about this. He was saying, does that mean by like temptation? Would that be considered assailed?
Well, we're gonna talk about that
Okay.
separately. Okay, so yeah, that's a whole different question. But assailed, I think, would be more like, harassed, or if I said, gosh, I said something to William, and man, he assailed me after the show. That would be like, it almost implies like a physical attack. But
Yeah.
obviously, the demons aren't going to do that. So listen to what he says. He says two things may be considered in the assault of the demons: the assault itself and the ordering thereof. The assault itself is due to the malice of the demons who, through envy, endeavor to hinder man's progress, and through pride usurp a semblance of divine power by deputing certain ministers to assail man, as the angels of God in their various offices minister to man's salvation. But the ordering of the assault is from God, who knows how to make orderly use of evil by ordering it to good. On the other hand, in regard to the angels, both their guardianship and the ordering thereof are to be referred to God as the first author. So who permits the demons to assail us is God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so how is the good achieved? I could think of some reasons. So how is good achieved through somebody being assailed by a demon?
I think there's a lot. I'd say there's a lot of things. One of them that comes to mind immediately would be it most likely, very possibly, could make that person more holy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's definitely one of the things. I mean, there's other things, but that would be like the one that immediately comes to mind, is it can make that person more holy.
Yeah. And if you take assailed as just being kind of like harassed or something like that, I mentioned before the show started that on 3 different occasions in my life, I have, I mean, almost undoubtedly, I mean, I can't prove this, but heard, and each time it was through my phone, what I would describe as a demonic voice. You know, like a harassment. I don't even know what it was saying. It was in a different language, but on 3 different occasions, and all 3 of them had to do with my work in Catholic radio. One of them, interestingly, was the very day that we brought an exorcist in to speak at our first Summer Speaker Series event. Manny Ortiz, and he confirmed this the other day. He was in my office. Actually, it was back when you push a button and you listen to your voice messages, and like, "Hi Dave, this is Sally. Can you promote our event at the church next week?" Beep. "Hi Dave, this is Joe. Give me a call back." Beep. I'm like, whoa.
Wow.
I mean, it was just like this demonic voice, but it was the very day that Father Tom Eitenauer was coming to our first Summer Speaker Series event about 15 years ago, and I listened to it, and I got kind of freaked out, and Manny came in, and I said, "Manny, listen to this," and I played it again, because you could replay them, and he's like, "Dude, man, erase that immediately," because he immediately knew that it was something demonic. It's happened twice at work, and one time at the very, very beginning when I first started in Catholic radio on my home message, and my wife heard this one. And so I don't know. I mean, why would God have allowed that?
Yeah.
Probably to make me realize that, hey, there is a real spiritual battle going on. Okay, this isn't just fun and games.
Yeah, and
this
that's
is serious
and
stuff.
As my dad says all the time, the devil can work through technology in many different ways, and that's definitely one of them.
Yeah, without a doubt. So,
Buddy says to get rid of the phone. Yeah, the phone would just be like, whoop.
Yeah, that's true. I talked to somebody. Who was it? Oh yeah, a guy. I won't give his name, but he told me that he had his first roommate in college was a devil worshiper.
Oof.
You know how you kind of
Oh my
go potluck, and the guy was doing like weird stuff in the room, and so this guy eventually got out of the room, but you got to probably have an exorcism or somebody come in and
there are some places that even I know a local deacon here. When he was blessing our house, he told us that he had gone to one house where he walked in, he just immediately went, "Something's off here," and there was a room that had black painted walls and like wax stuck into the carpet because they were holding things like seances in it. And he just said, "No, you're selling this house. You're not moving in here." He's just no.
Yeah, why do people do that? I remember when I was a little kid, I had some weird cousins that wanted to do that kind of stuff, and they wanted, and again, it's a curiosity. Aquinas explains curiosity as being a sin. In the Summa, to be overly curious about things that we don't need to know.
So Curious George is doing a lot of sinning.
He's
He's
very sinful. Curious George is, yes. I saw it when y'all were probably too young for this, but like when the O.J. Simpson trial was going on, and the whole country just got totally wrapped up in this murder case and the gore and the details and and it was interesting. I mean, without a doubt. But nobody really needed to know that. It's even stuff like this horrible situation in Tennessee that happened last week with the shooting.
Yep.
I mean, people get all wrapped up in it and want to know all the details, and really all it does is perpetuate additional ones because it puts bad ideas into people when everybody's all fascinated because a lot of people just want to be famous. They want to be known, right? And so they do stupid stuff because everybody pays so much attention to it.
Yeah.
So I think curiosity can be very dangerous.
Absolutely.
Can be very dangerous.
But he reminded us that Padre Pio was attacked by demons too. I'm not recalling that story off the top of my head, but that's
Physically attacked, was he?
I'm not sure. I'll just look it up.
There's another saint. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember who it was. Who was also very assaulted by demons. I don't know if it was Saint John Vianney or a different one, but I think John Vianney may have been assaulted by demons a couple of times. I'm not sure.
It's interesting going back real quickly to that whole place about an angel being in a place because, Thomas is very clear that an angel is in one place and is not in multiple places. And somebody asked me in my class yesterday, in my high school class, about whether or not in heaven we could be in two places at the same time. And my initial answer was no, because, and I don't know if Thomas addresses that specifically as far as our experience in heaven, but then they said, well, what about bilocation? Because here on earth, people have had the miraculous ability to be in two places at the same time, right?
Padre Pio did, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
once.
right. That's what made me think about it when you mentioned Padre Pio. And so that's almost a contradiction, because if we're one essence, how can we... I'd love to do more study on bilocation. Have either of y'all looked into that?
I haven't
haven't,
studied it. I just find the whole concept just absolutely wild.
Yeah. Gosh, maybe we can do a whole show on bilocation, because I don't think Aquinas really gets into that, but in the Summa specifically, because if you have two people separated, then the intellect is interacting and the will in two different locations. But how can that be one intellect and one will? Because even if you're having two conversations at the same time, I don't know how that can happen. Bilocation is really, really wild. Okay, so, all right, so here is, was it Forrest or Buddy that asked about temptation?
It was Forrest.
Okay, Forrest asked about temptation. The next one is whether to tempt is proper to the devil. And I'm just taking little bits and pieces out of here from this article. Thomas says, the flesh and the world are said to tempt as the instruments or matter of temptations, inasmuch as one can know what sort of man someone is according as he follows or resists the desires of the flesh, and according as he despises worldly advantages and adversity, of which things the devil also makes use in tempting. The demons know what happens outwardly among men, but the inward disposition of man, God alone knows. Who is the weigher of spirits? Okay, so imagine like your best friend or somebody you know. Wouldn't you say you probably know what their weaknesses are?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So you answered that too quickly.
Did I speak too soon?
Okay, so I
Sorry,
take,
Isabel.
again, when I say weakness, I don't mean like it's like sinful or
No.
not, but I know my wife loves dark chocolate. I know my wife loves a glass of red wine, as do I. People that know me know that I love, Snuffers cheddar fries or, but I didn't have to read my wife's mind to know that. I see her, right? I see what she likes. Okay, so what are your weaknesses?
Oh, it's that kind of show? Is that what we're going? No, I love resting in my bed and having a good nap, or time just where I can lay and just think.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a very precious time to me. I love the time in my car when it's quiet and I don't have to talk to anybody.
But that's a weakness.
It's a weakness, yeah.
Because you may want to spend too much time there.
Right, absolutely. You could spend too much time inside yourself and too much time not when you maybe a friend needed a phone call.
See, I would have never thought of that about you.
Yeah.
You're so personal. You're so like gregarious.
Yeah,
and
here. Then I go in my car and
yeah,
don't talk to anyone.
yeah,
No,
okay.
no, things like that. Yeah.
So, okay, weakness, if you want to share.
Food.
Food, yeah.
Food is
yeah.
also
So,
always
Gotta be
so
food.
the angels know our weaknesses. They don't have to read our minds because
Yeah.
they can't read our minds. Only God reads our minds, right? So if I were to, want to tempt my wife to sin, let's say she gives up, dark chocolate for Lent, and I put some dark chocolate out.
Eat it in front of her.
Yeah, eat it in front of her, right? So I'm basically tempting like the devil does, okay? The devil can incite us to do things.
Yep.
Okay, so it is the disposition that makes man more prone to one vice than to another. Hence, the devil tempts in order to explore this inward disposition of man so that he may tempt him to that vice which he is most prone. I've had many occasions during Mass where the weirdest thoughts pop into my mind that I did not invite.
Right.
And sometimes it's during the most holy time of
Yes.
Mass and during the consecration where I'm like, where in the world did that come from?
I think that happens to a lot of people. I don't know if I have exactly what you're talking about, but I do have sometimes I have really bad distractions during Mass, like thinking of like things that I shouldn't be thinking about during Mass, like what I need to do when I get home or this thing that happened earlier or all that stuff. Like it's, even if it's not like a bad thought, it's like, it's just it's your business distracting you from what's more important.
Yeah.
I get that a lot.
And I wonder, so is that the devil? Is the devil able
Yeah.
to kind of, mess with us in that regard? I think Thomas would say he can. Okay, he can't read our mind, but he can distract us and put something in our way. That may lead you to think like, oh my gosh, I got to do my math homework. I'm 2 days behind my math homework. And you're in the middle of Mass thinking about this, right?
Yeah.
So
what's
okay.
interesting though is that it may have been from Jesse Romero going back to demons, is that when I can't remember if this was a story, but if it was, I believe it was of this guy who was possessed and went into a church, and the demon immediately left and ran away because they're so terrified of the Eucharist and the church and all that. So it's kind of weird to think about how a demon could kind of like get at you during the sacrifice of the Mass, because I feel like they'd be scared of even entering a holy place. It just kind of feels
or that
weird.
they wouldn't even want to be in a holy place,
exactly,
right?
yeah.
Because they'd have no interest there other than the fact that they want to try to
Right.
mess with us, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So, all right, although a demon cannot change the will, he can change the inferior powers of man, which I think would be like maybe imagination, sensitive appetites. Those would be inferior powers, certainly a sensitive appetite, right? In a certain degree, by which powers, though the will cannot be forced, it can nevertheless be inclined. Okay, so next one, whether all sins are due to the temptation of the devil, yes or no? Are all sins due to the temptation of the devil?
Oh. That's a good question.
Yeah, here's the thing though. Can't other bad angels, other demons tempt you? Like, it's not always the devil, because one of the things that I've always been thinking about, and I've never been able to like wrap it around my mind, is that so many people, I'm sure, are tempted to do something bad at the same time. But like you said, angels can't be in more than one place. So it couldn't just simply be the devil tempting one person, because there's a lot of people probably being tempted at the same time to do something wrong. So it would logically makes sense that there would have to be other demons tempting people. So it can't just be the devil. It'd have to be other angels, I'm guessing.
Like our tendency to sin, like concupiscence, would that be considered tempting from the devil still?
Yeah. Well, he's going to get into that.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm
No. So no, you're
here.
right. You're exactly right. But but think of it like, what you're saying, William. The Blessed Mother has to intercede for millions and millions of people at the same time, right? So is her mind, how does that work?
Yeah.
And I think it has to do with, in the spirit world, things. It has to do with epistemology. It's the way that our minds right now go from one thing to the next. Okay, so I always use the example. If you think of the capital of Texas, being Austin, the capital of Florida being Tallahassee. Think of those at the exact same time. I mean, you kind of you go from one to the next. But an angelic mind, or the mind of the blessed in heaven, they see everything at the same time.
It's all infused into them.
So they're able to, I think, do a lot of things at the same time, and maybe, unfortunately, possess a lot of people at the same time.
Okay.
It's just a whole different, ball game, so to speak. Okay, so
Okay.
all right. So are all sins due to the temptation of the devil? Okay, I think that Cecil was onto something here with her answer. He says one thing can be the cause of another in two ways: directly and indirectly. Indirectly is when an agent is the cause of a disposition to a certain effect. It is said to be the occasional and indirect cause of that effect. For instance, and this is kind of interesting, we might say that he who dries the wood is the cause of the wood burning. Isn't that an interesting analogy? So because wood has to be dry to burn. So the guy that dries it is the cause of it burning. Okay, even though the fire obviously is the principal cause. In this way, we must admit that the devil is the cause of all of our sins, because he it is who instigated the first man to sin, from whose sin there resulted a proneness to sin in the whole human race. And in this sense, we must take the word of Damascene and Dionysius. Okay, but a thing is said to be the direct cause of something when its action tends directly thereunto. And in this way, the devil is not the cause of every sin, for all sins are not committed by the devil's instigation, but some are due to the free will and the corruption of the flesh. Okay, that would be the concupiscence that Cecil was talking about. For as Origen says, even if there were no devil, men would have the desire for food and love and such like pleasures, with regard to which many disorders may arise, unless those desires are curbed by reason, especially if we presuppose the corruption of our natures. Now it is in the power of the free will to curb this appetite and keep it in order. Consequently, there is no need for all sins to be due to the instigation of the devil, but those sins which are due thereto man perpetuates through being deceived by the same blandishments as were our first parents, as Isidore says. Okay, so it's like some of it's just part of our fallen nature that we're just prone to sin. Okay, but the devil will tempt us and take
And
advantage.
use those weaknesses.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
things,
So some of it, the devil kind of like exacerbates and makes it worse, but most of it's kind of who we are, in our own temptation.
Yeah.
All right. Any other comments out there? Anybody? We only have 15 minutes to go.
Yeah,
We're
let
going
me
to get
catch
to.
us up
Did
some.
you bring trivia?
Yeah,
Hey.
it's in progress, so it could happen or it could not.
Are you
In
looking up
progress.
trivia as we speak?
Yeah, kind of. I have
Okay.
been. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, let me get to.
Can I just get a couple comments real quick?
Yeah.
To catch up on a few. Let's see. So both Buddy and Forrest were on the right track about it not just being temptations from the devil. And also, Forrest commented, "I wonder if C.S. Lewis was reading this when he wrote Screwtape Letters."
Oh,
Which would be very interesting.
I think without a doubt. I mean, C.S. Lewis was not Catholic, but I don't mean to overplay the influence of the Summa, but I think every Christian has been influenced by St. Thomas Aquinas, whether they know it or not, Protestant and Catholic and Orthodox alike, because it's kind of seeped in. I mean, the Fathers of Trent had the Summa Theologica on the podium as they were responding to the Protestant Reformation.
So
right?
so Trent was way after St. Thomas Aquinas.
Well, Trent would have been in the 16th century. So,
Okay, so 1500s.
Aquinas was in the 13th century,
Yeah.
so it would have been about 300 years later.
Yeah.
Martin Luther posted the 95 Thesis in 1517, right? And so Trent, I think started in 1546. Thereabouts, around 1550. So you would be talking about approximately 300 years after Aquinas. Okay, so after Aquinas, you had, a lot of people starting to, rebel against the church, the Protestant Reformation, and then the Counter Reformation by the church, which they largely used Aquinas to kind of draft all those documents. Okay, I'm just going to do one more, and then we'll get into a little bit of trivia. Did you bring a joke?
I did. Yep.
Okay, all right. Let's see. The last one we'll do, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Whether a demon who is overcome by man is for this reason hindered from making further assaults. Okay, so if a demon tries to influence Sissel, and because she is so holy and so full of God's grace, she rebuffs the temptation. Does that demon say, gosh, I will never be able to go back to her again? Or does he come back and keep trying?
That's a great question. I'd really hope he goes away, but something tells me he may not. He might be like, let me go to William for a little bit and then circle back to Sissel. It's kind of like when you get a sales call and they keep following up on you, like for a few months.
Yeah.
Or you say, like, can you call back in 2 weeks? And then they actually do.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what he says. Some say that when once a demon has been overcome, he can no more tempt any man at all, neither to the same nor to any other sin. And others say that he can tempt others, but not the same man. This seems more probable as long as we understand it to be for a certain definite time. Wherefore Luke 4:13 is written, all temptation being ended, the devil departed from him for a time. There are two reasons for this. One is on the part of God's clemency, for as Christendom says, the devil does not tempt man for just as long as he likes, but for as long as God allows. For although he allows him to tempt for a short time, he orders him off on account of our weakness. Okay, so God is saying, okay, devil, go back. Remember the story of Job?
I was just about to say that.
Yeah. He's like, how about my servant, your servant Job? And he said, well, you have permission to go and tempt him. And boy, he like took everything away from him.
Yeah.
The other reason is taken from the astuteness of the devil. As to this, Ambrose says, the devil is afraid of persisting because he shrinks from frequent defeat. Okay, so it's like the devil, his pride is wounded when he loses, right? That the devil does, nevertheless, sometimes return to the assault is apparent from Matthew 12:44. Quote, I will return into my house from whence I came out. So it sounds like, sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. So there's no real clear answer on that, right? So,
Interesting.
anyways, okay. So that's a few of the lessons on the demons. There's a lot more. That was just on, I think it was question 114 at the very end of Prima Pars, the first part of the Summa, where he's talking about the relationship between angels and man, the governance of the world, how God uses angels as intermediaries between him and mankind. And that particular group of articles is called The Assault of the Demons. Okay, so, all right.
I had one more comment to catch us up on.
Okay.
That was our friend Aurora on Facebook when you were mentioning, William, about St. Padre Pio. She said that a Father Alicio, St. Padre Pio's assistant, could hear St. Padre Pio wrestling with the devil. This is according to the book.
Could hear him.
His life, yeah.
Yeah, and oh gosh, who was it? Jacob wrestled with an angel.
Yep.
Okay, that famous Old Testament story.
Yeah.
There's a lot of angelic moments in the Bible. In fact, that's going to have something to do with my trivia here in a couple of minutes. Is
Dun,
angel?
dun,
Did you
dun.
do the same thing or no?
I don't think
Okay.
I did. I think I did something slightly different. My very thrown together trivia.
Yeah. Okay. So it's very fascinating. And again, if you weren't with us at the beginning of the show, the reason why we're talking about the spiritual life is because for the first time ever, the Guadalupe Radio Network has a program that is being picked up by EWTN. It's called The Spirit World. It's hosted by Debbie Georgiani, of course, of Take Two with Debbie and Jerry. That is heard 11 o'clock Central across the Guadalupe Radio Network. The Spirit World also features Adam Bly, and he is an expert demonologist. He is not a priest, and so he cannot do exorcisms, but what he does is he has been in a lot of them, and he trains.
He's witnessed.
Yeah, he's witnessed them, and then he trains exorcists. Because perhaps having a kind of a third party, looking at it and then training others, because the priest is right in the middle of it. I mean, they're in the battle. They're talking to the demons, and so to have somebody else on the outside watching it, taking notes, and then saying, here's how it happens to another priest. That's Adam Bly, a layman, and this is what he does. So tune in tomorrow morning, the first ever Spirit World with Debbie and Adam, produced by the Guadalupe Radio Network. Okay, and that's why we've been focusing on the Spirit World on this program today, especially the demons and the assault of the demons and that kind of thing. Okay, so anyways, we like to kind of close out the show a little lighter. Sometimes it can be a little heavy. The demons are kind of a heavy topic, aren't they? Would you agree?
It's going into your weekend. It's a nice light topic. Thinking about all the good things in life. It's okay. I'm going to adoration tonight.
But don't you think the weekend probably affords more temptation than weekdays, generally
absolutely,
speaking?
because you don't have as much of a set schedule.
So we're just looking out for you, okay?
Yeah,
we're trying to
that's
kind
all
of
it is.
get you, prepared for the weekend in a spiritual matter, okay? All right, so hit us with one joke, William.
All right, let's do it. What did one wall say to the other?
One wallet?
Wall.
Wall. Get out of my way.
What are you doing just standing there?
No.
Wall, let's meet in the corner.
Yes.
Is that it?
I'll meet you at the corner.
Oh,
Yep.
I think
Good
I
job,
okay.
Daddy.
That one came to me. I think I was inspired by
The Holy Spirit.
my guardian angel inspired me there. Okay, all right. So there you go, William Kirkendall. I got that one. Okay, Sissel, do you have something?
So I do have something. It's a little bit more extensive than I thought it was going to be, but we'll keep it pretty casual. I have names of the devil in the Bible.
Okay.
So different titles that he was given or things in the Bible. And so I just want to know how many in a couple, let's give us a minute or two to see how many of them you all can name.
Okay.
And how many of them maybe you didn't know.
You want to write them down or?
Yeah, you can go ahead and write them down and I'll mark them off my list.
I came very unprepared. Okay, here's a pen.
You got it?
Okay, so
Can I use this
and
paper?
go
Yes.
ahead and if you're watching at home via the miracle of technology, go ahead and put them in the chat, whether you be
Yes.
on YouTube
I'll try to watch out for them.
or Facebook or Twitter or wherever you might be watching. So I'm going to put.
A lot of these, some of them are very obvious, and some of them you could come up with, and some of them I'm just I don't even remember that. So
And they're all from the Bible.
they're all. I
explicitly.
have the Bible references here
Okay,
in front of me.
Okay, do you have some Jeopardy music? I'll
just do all the sound effects.
So we're
myself.
just gonna do about 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah, we'll
maybe
just see
how
how
about
many-
one more minute? Okay, how's
Sounds
that?
good. All right, go ahead. Someone start. Listing
Okay,
some.
so we just kind of go back and forth.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna do the obvious one, Satan.
Yes.
Okay, so
Congratulations.
Satan is one. All right. Sorry, William, I took the easy one.
Yeah, I
Okay.
got that one too. But my other one was Lucifer.
let me make sure he was actually called that in the Bible.
How about if we do this together?
Yeah,
Okay,
do it as
so
a
we'll do
group.
it as a team.
No,
okay.
no Lucifer actually.
No.
It's
Lucifer's
not.
never mentioned in the Bible.
Well, according to this list, I could be completely
Okay.
wrong. But
Interesting. Okay.
I'm gonna say Beelzebul.
I think I saw that one. Yep.
Okay.
Woo. I like how
Beelzebul.
you went straight for that one. There's another really obvious one y'all are missing.
Okay. Well, thank you
You're
for
welcome.
pointing out
You're
our
welcome.
weakness.
You're welcome.
I had the evil one.
I'm pretty sure that is one.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
you were
I
right.
had that also.
Okay.
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 All right.
Father of lies.
Yes. Well, liar, father of lies. Yep.
Okay.
I'll call those both the same.
Okay, so that pretty much ends my list, but I
Really?
can probably
There's
think of
one
some
really,
other ones.
really
Okay,
obvious one?
let's see.
I
Okay,
have
devil.
no other-
Yes.
Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, that's
okay,
the one that I was
okay.
saying. Okay.
Yeah, I'm out.
Oh,
That's
okay.
Are you?
not anymore.
Let
Let's
me just
see.
read a couple of the highlights, or if you want to keep guessing a few more. Does anyone have any?
Fallen angel.
Yes.
Is that one? Okay. That is okay.
Aurora is getting all those. Father lies. Serpent is what? Yeah, I think serpent is one of them.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering
sense.
correctly.
And let's see, serpent, father. Yeah. How many more are there?
There's a total of 25. I think you all have gotten like 6 or 7 of them.
25.
Yeah, I'm not. Obviously, I'm not expecting you all to get all. I just wanted to see which ones you did know. There's some really random ones that you would not think of.
Spirit of darkness.
Yes, I'm pretty sure I saw that.
Wait,
one.
hold on.
It's a very big list. so-
Prince of the Air, is that one of them?
No,
No?
I don't
Okay.
believe so.
The prince of demons.
There is something like that. You're getting very close.
Prince of this world?
Ruler of
the
ruler of demons.
Oh, okay. The ruler of demons. Yeah,
Yep.
the prince of this world. That's a good one.
What's a
It's
general thing like when we are fighting against something? The other person is our.
enemy.
Yep. It's
Okay,
called
the enemy.
He's like
Okay.
the enemy of humans, particularly.
Okay, Mary says murderer.
Oh, that's a good question. Let me look.
Yeah,
and
the
double check.
murder-
Yes, murder. She's right.
Oh, good,
There
Mary.
is. You are the father of the devil, and the lust of your father is your will to do. He was a murderer from the beginning.
Yeah, there you go. Very good.
Yeah.
Something about a liar as well, is that?
We did.
I
one
did Father of
Father
Lies.
Father of
Yeah, I did
Lies.
Father of Lies.
What about like Saint George and the?
Dragon.
Dragon.
Yeah,
How
dragons.
about thief?
Ooh, good one. I don't know if
The
that's-
thief comes to destroy and,
Yeah, that
and,
makes
and
sense.
Let
steal
me
or something.
see. No, what did he do on the first with Adam and Eve? What was he?
Tempter.
Yes,
Yeah,
the tempter.
Okay.
There's some interesting ones in here. Do you all want to give up now and I just list
Yeah,
them?
you can go ahead and
The
list them.
Day Star,
Okay.
Son of the Morning, Anointed Cherub, so I got to see past all the
A
ones you
star.
got.
Oh wow.
Ruler of this world,
Yeah. Okay.
God of this age, Angel of Light, Belial, Ruler of the authority of the air, Adversary, Roaring Lion, the Angel of the Abyss, Apollyon and Abaddon, and Old Serpent, Deceiver of the whole world, Accuser of God's people.
Ah, the accuser. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, that was very good. Cool. All right, thank you, Sissel. Okay, we're going to close out today, and feel free to play at home. I know there's a little bit of a delay, but I'm just going to say a quick quote from the Bible, and you guys tell me if you can guess what book in the Bible it's from.
Sweet, okay.
Okay.
Oh no.
Okay, and here we go. See, Sissel gets so
get so
nervous when it
stressed.
comes to. I think you put so much pressure on
I
yourself because you're a former Protestant, and Protestants pride themselves, and this is not a criticism, but in knowing the Bible very well. I mean, that we would know the Bible as well as most Protestants. But okay, number one, see that you do not despise one of these little ones, for I tell you that in heaven their angels always behold the face of my Father who is in heaven.
Matthew.
Okay, very good. Yes.
We both kinda got
you,
that.
You both got it. Okay. Let's see. Okay, the Apostle John was overwhelmed. This at the vision of the angel. He bows
Luke.
down to the angel, and the angel said, "Do not do that. I am a fellow servant with you and with your brothers and sisters who hold to the testimony of Jesus. Worship God,
1 John.
for it is the Spirit of
Revelation.
yeah,
Why did it take so long to
Revelation.
get there? I was like,
okay. Yeah, that is Revelation.
Revelation.
Okay, here's the next one. At the resurrection, people will neither marry nor be given in marriage. They will be like the angels in heaven.
Revelation again.
It's St. Paul, isn't it?
Read it again for me.
At the resurrection, people will neither marry nor be given in marriage. They will be
It does sound like something St. Paul would say,
like the
right?
angels in heaven.
Is it New Testament?
It is New Testament.
I would think St.
Acts.
Paul or Revelation, but is
Romans.
it neither one of those?
1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians.
It's actually Matthew.
It's Matthew.
Oh, really?
It's in the gospel.
Oh, so
yeah.
it's
Would've
Jesus
guessed.
speaking. Then.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Here's the next one. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the
Oh, I
earth?
know
Tell
this.
me if you have understanding. When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy.
It's one of the Gospels. Is it Luke?
No, it's not
Is
even.
it-
It's not
Old
even.
Testament.
It's Old. It's Old
Testament.
Is it
Testament.
Exodus?
No.
Genesis?
No.
Leviticus.
Wait. Oh, Job.
Deuteronomy.
Job. Yes,
Oh,
very good, Job.
Good job.
Okay, let's see. Thus the heavens and the earth were completed and all their
Genesis.
hosts.
Revelation.
Genesis.
Oh.
Yeah, Genesis, yes. Okay. Nor can they die anymore, for they are equal to the angels and are sons of God, being sons of the resurrection.
Revelation?
Nope.
No.
It's one of the Gospels.
Oh, okay.
Mark.
No.
Luke. John.
It's Luke, yeah. Okay, this one is very familiar.
Okay.
To see if you remember
Oh,
this.
boy.
But you have come to Mount Zion, to the heavenly Jerusalem, the city of the living God. You have come to thousands upon thousands of angels in joyful assembly.
Revelation.
You have come to Mount Zion. Have you not heard that
Exodus?
song? And the
Oh, wait, no, I think I have,
city
yeah.
of the living God.
Exodus.
The
No,
Exodus?
the song's not helping me at all. In case you're wondering,
It's not helping any-
Is it Old Testament?
It's New Testament.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans, 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians. Galatians,
Former Protestant
Ephesians,
knows the Bible.
Philippians, Colossians.
Okay, no, it's Hebrews.
I almost was at Hebrews.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Okay. The two angels came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting
Exodus.
in the gate of Sodom. What?
No, that's way
The
later.
story of Lot.
Sorry, Samuel. No,
When
what
Lot
Genesis.
saw that. Genesis. Yes,
Wait,
it's in
why did I
Genesis.
think- I was my bro.
Sissel, you should
my
be ashamed
time-
of yourself.
Good. My
Okay, two
timeline
more.
is backwards.
Okay, for if God did not spare the angels who sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved for judgment. You'll probably not get this one.
Thanks. Old Testament or New Testament?
New Testament.
Again, I could list them
You,
very,
you,
very
you,
quickly.
you'll not get it.
Oh,
You'll not get it.
St. Paul's
Jude.
letter
It's
to...
Second
First-
Peter.
Second.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Last one. Do not neglect to extend hospitality to strangers, for by this some have entertained angels without knowing it. You've heard this.
Yeah.
You know that
John,
song,
Mark.
"Entertaining Angels," by the Newsboys?
Isn't it Matthew,
I
Mark,
haven't
Luke, or
heard it.
John? One of the Gospels.
It's not a gospel.
Is it the book of Acts?
Let's see. Are we
Romans.
paying attention to our friends out
I
there
have
in
been.
social media land? Okay, last one. Do not neglect to extend hospitality to strangers, for by doing this, some have entertained angels without knowing it. If I may just stop for a
Sure.
second, think about it. Like I do something really nice to William, right? And I think what this is implying is that there are angels all around us, and they're like, yeah, look. I mean, they're like happy. And can you imagine just this whole world all around us of these angels? In fact, like they could be right here with us saying, hey, they're talking about us. Look, they're talking about us, but they can't speak, so we can't hear them. I mean, isn't that a wild thought
That
to
is.
think about all these
Yeah.
Super
because
wild.
we just assume there's 3 people in this room.
Yeah.
There could be 1,000 people in this room.
Yeah.
You know, isn't
Yeah.
that wild? If you're here,
Hey,
hello.
we are acknowledging you. You don't get a lot of acknowledgement, but
Yeah.
today
So,
we are.
anyways, you guys want to guess at this one?
It's
did you
New
say-
Testament, you said?
New Testament.
Okay.
Is
it
it's not
one- is it
Romans,
one
Corinthians?
Peter?
Is it one? It's one of St.
Okay.
Paul's.
Forrest
letters.
said Corinthians. That's not correct.
Colossians.
Nope. It's a book.
Galatians.
Book of Jude.
It's a book
1, 2,
that
3, John.
that people always used to assume Paul wrote, but of late
Acts?
scholars have said they're not sure that he wrote it. Some people have even said they thought that maybe the Blessed Mother wrote it. It's a disputed
St. Luke?
authorship. It's not a gospel.
Luke.
Okay, it's not a gospel.
Hold on a second.
It's not
Anybody-
Revelation, is it?
Okay, it's not Revelation.
Okay.
I think.
John, Acts, Romans,
Okay, so
Ephesians,
okay,
Philippians.
5 seconds. I'm gonna give it
Philippians?
away, huh?
Philippians.
No.
I'm
it's-
never gonna guess
It's
it.
Book of Hebrews.
I said Hebrews.
Oh, you did?
Roll the tape back. I feel like one of us said Hebrews, didn't you?
Oh,
I
see,
did
she
say
went from
Hebrews.
I said Hebrews to I think one of us said Hebrews. I think one of the angels said Hebrews.
Maybe
right?
one of them whispered it into my ear.
Maybe
you know?
none of us said Hebrews. The mind of Sissel Anderson. All right. Just kidding. Really. Not really. Just kidding, not kidding. All right. Hey, thanks everybody for joining us for this Back to the Father
The back
kind
to
of
back to the Father. We're
Back to
back.
the Father is back, and it's going to kind of change over the coming weeks, slowly but surely. Okay, so it only gets better. All right, that's what we can say. All right, thank you, William. Thank you, Sissel. Thank you for watching and being part of the program. And we won't see you next Friday because it's Good Friday, but the following Friday in the season of Easter. We will be back with Back to the Father. God bless you and have a great weekend and a great Palm Sunday.
Thanks for joining us for Back to the Father. And don't forget, the glory of God is the human person fully alive. If you have comments about the show, email Dave Palmer at grnonline.com.